We'll try and talk about it for you, GP.
I didn't quite hear that.
Oh,
All right, here we go. Okay, kia ora koutou. Kami mahana kia koutou e tēnei wā nā mai hau mai ki te hui o Māori Standing Committee. Kia ora everybody, karakia te timatanga. Tukia te wairua kia rere ki ngā taumata, hai arahi i ngā tātou mahi, me tā tātou wāre i ngā
I ngā tikanga a rata nā kia mau kia ita, kia kore ai e ngaro, kia pupuri, kia whakamaua, kia tēnā.
We've got apologies from Hirawini tonight, Andrea and Garrick.
and Harry.
And Garrick. Are there any conflicts of interest? No, I'll do a speech now. So it's great that we are back to face-to-face and Zoom meetings, but a reminder that Omicron is still very active in our community. We want to protect the most vulnerable people in our community, including our tamariki and our kuia and kaumātua. We highly recommend that everyone wears their mask throughout the meeting. We also encourage use of the hand sanitizer at the door and social distancing. Health and safety, the emergency exits for the town hall are clearly indicated. If we need to evacuate the building, use any of the emergency exits and head towards Texas Street and assemble in the playground area. Please remain at the assembly area until the building has been confirmed clear. Recording the meeting is being held both in person and using audio video technology. All members participating via audio video conference will count for the purpose of the meeting forum, in accordance with clause 25B of Schedule 7 to the Local Government Act 2002. The meeting is being live streamed to Council's YouTube channel. The meeting will also be recorded and subject to the recording being of suitable quality will be made available to Council's YouTube channel via a link on Council's website. So extraordinary business. Does anyone have any extraordinary business that needs to be added to the agenda? Apologies, are there any apologies? So I move that the apologies from Andrea Rutini and Hirawini Munson, Garrick, Nicholas Eames, and Harry Wilson be received. Do I have a second? Thank you, Garrick. All those in favour, please raise your hand. All those against, please raise your hand. The motion is carried. Conflicts of interest. Are there any conflicts of interest to declare? Well, acknowledgements and tributes. Does anyone have any acknowledgements and tributes they would like to make? I just wanted to make a tribute to Tony Kerr, who served on the Māori Standing Committee for I think, close to 2 years in representation of Hauriki, and I just wanted to acknowledge her valuable contribution to the Māori Standing Committee. We stay in contact, so it was said to her a bit different.
Narita, I have a tribute that I like to bring up is Ninawa Munro.
Yeah.
As you well know that Nin was on the Māori Standing Committee. She was the chair for some years, and mind you, it's evolved a lot since then, but she was a forerunner. She actually started making people a lot more aware of Maori culture and values, and I, for one, learned a lot from Ninawa, how to understand the culture, I guess. Well, I had a fair idea how it rocked, but I think she brought it to the fore a bit, and I did say at the marae, Nin was a bit like a pig dog. She got hold of your ear and she would have let it go, but she made a lot of sense, and it's very sad, and I'd just like to acknowledge the time and the contribution she made to the Māori Standing Committee.
Oh, awesome. Did you know her?
Her whole family, they're from here. Yeah. So they're all Māori one.
Yeah, and Chippy and I did go along on the Sunday and pay their estates on that.
Which did you do that?
Yeah, Gillies.
And she was buried in Monkey, so she's Māori one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gillies checked that up for us. Thank you, Gillies.
All right, Gillies.
Oh, nice one, guys.
She had Uncle Whānau, yeah, she said that she was very much was a part of this community and was amazing. She was really, really, really passionate, and she was very giving with her knowledge. And yeah, I appreciate everything that over through my life, being able to have her here in Martinborough. Yeah, she was very, very special to both myself and my sister, helping us to understand a lot about the area. So yeah.
Yep, here.
So is that still making a funny noise?
That's a bit better.
It's a bit better.
We have new microphones arriving.
Yay. So public participation, we have two public.
Can I just quickly make an acknowledgement for the upcoming Matariki and the fact that it is the first, and I just think it's something that I think could pay tribute and acknowledgement to the work that has gone in to have our very first public holiday that belongs to Aotearoa. And so I just want to make an acknowledgement and tribute to the fact that Matariki is being acknowledged by all of Aotearoa.
So we've got two presentations tonight, but I see one of the group here, and it's John Bushell and Shane Evanson from Redtail Trails Trust. Come on down to grab these slides here so we can hear you.
Tēnā rangitua, kia ora koutou. Ko John Bushnell tōku reo no te whenua ahau. E nei ko Wararata tōku kāinga. Hei tia mana ahau ki te Puari Kaitiaki, te ara Kuruwhiti, Manuatia Matariki. Nō rewa, tēnā koutou katoa.
Sure.
It's a pleasure to be here with you again tonight, and I was able to share with you a little picture which I think Caitlin has gone to all members of the progress of the bridge. That's not just a designer's representation, it's actually a drone taken picture of where the bridge is at the moment. So I know we've been talking with this committee and with others about this for quite a long time. Things are actually happening down there at the river. However, there's a number of current issues that we really do need to progress with, really as a matter of urgency around the placement of the PO, which we've been working on the design of now for a couple of years. The background to this is that we had gone, I think initially to Ryan Smith and talked with maybe it was who really strongly suggested that we talk with the upper legal around the river. That was the priority focus, and we should be engaging with Tapuai and Pātūmā Bay. So we were delighted to be able to do that, and we've had fantastic support in terms of coming up with an adaptation of a rough plan, turning it into something that's quite an amazing piece of conceptual art that has come out of and come from the relationship, I guess, that we formed with Tapuai and Pātūmā Bay. And it feels like this is actually a really significant presence of local iwi and the ability to tell local stories from a Tangata Whenua point of view. as part of this new pathway that will link the two towns of Featherston and Redtail. The work on the PO has actually come entirely from those we've been working with. This has not been a Pākehā invention at all, and the involvement of the old grey guys on the Redtail Trust has really been restricted to helping find resources and helping to put together funding applications to secure the kind of financial backing that we need to actually get to build this and put it in place. However, we do have some steps now that we need to finalise in terms of finding it a home. Shane's been involved very much in kind of the detailed discussions around this, so maybe ask him to pick up the story at this point.
Okay, the initial spot for the post suggestion was on the banks of the river, but it was such a stunning piece of work and so valuable that we had some discussions with Papua Paitamoka, and the conclusion was that we should stick it at the start of the trail of Featherston. And Clifford Square was the obvious spot there, and we've struck, I guess, a procedural thing there. The Clifford Square Reserve has its own set of rules attached to it, and it occurred to us this was the case. It's now popped up, and there's a set of processes that have to be gone through in terms of I guess the rules around the reserve. The Featherston Community Board have to consider a request to put the PO there. That then has to go to the Assets Committee of the Council. They will then make a recommendation to the Council proper, who will deliberate on this and decide whether or not things they will put there. Now, that's absolutely not a problem at all. This is how local government works, how it starts with the community works up. The difficulty that we have at this stage, and I guess is probably the Greater Trails Trust, is that the funding that we've got is the two tranches. One of it is funding from the Infrastructure Reference Group, or MB, and that was the money for the bridge in total, which includes signs and the PO and all the rest, no problem. That wasn't sufficient to pay for the total cost of the PO, and we've gone to the Eastern Central Community Trust for the balance of that. And I have to say, it was like pushing against an open door. They thought it was a great idea, well anchored in the local community, and they sent us the money. Now, that's the easy part. The difficult bit is that the funding from MB comes with a shut-off date, and we're starting to get a problem as to whether or not we're going to be able to, if we wait until all the approvals are in place before we place the order for the PO, then we run into problems about actually paying for in terms of the dates in there. So what we'd like to do, with the knowledge of at least of the council has to sign off on invoices that are sent through, and what we propose to do is to place an order now for the PO, and we'll get an invoice sent through now for $40,000, and then that will take care of all that. But the very worst imaginable outcome, and it's hard to see why it could happen or would happen, but it could, would be that we don't have permission to put it in Clifford Square, in which case we probably go back to the original position down by the river there. It wouldn't be as cool, but it's a good spot for it. So what we would like to do is to, now we've got the money, we've got all the other bits and pieces. The one thing we will need is a formal sign-off from the two marae, and emails will do it, and from Kahana. I hope that Andrew would be here today so that we could take that directly to him. And I'd be interested in if you could suggest a process. Again, locals probably best if it has to go up to Marston and go to our bureaucracy there. We could could take a little while.
The thing with Clifford Square, that just.
Clifford Square, much like the town square and Constantine Park, has a set of bylaws that make sure that it remains the way it should be or has been. So it is a council resolution to change them, or consideration by council to say it fits within the bylaws of the particular Clifford Square management plan, I think it is. So I don't see it being a problem. I do think that even if that takes a bit longer than you would like, you could move over there, erect it in one place temporarily and move it. Either way, preferable invoice to council, and if you need me to contact MB to extend the funding, which does happen quite a lot, let me know. I don't see a problem with that.
Okay, so you're comfortable if we go ahead, or Pip, you'll be.
Absolutely. That was the only thing I was going to ask. What is the actual cut-off date that you're worried that going through these processes it might miss? Is it?
The practical completion is September.
No, definitely,
No problem.
Yeah.
Just go for it.
yeah.
As long as, from our perspective as a council, Māori Standing Committee gives approval for it to be placed on council ground, that's what council is interested in assets and services. We need to know that we are happy.
Yeah.
We need to know that the Māori Standing Committee are happy, and that so we do nothing with that.
Yeah, okay. Does everyone have anything to add to that, Cordelia? Because the Papua are part of this, Waitanaka are part of this, and now Māori Standing Committee to basically endorse the application to put it on in Clifford Square in Featherston, and to allow council that that's a green light from us. Is everyone okay with that, Cordelia? Does everyone have any other questions? Kawai?
It's all good from us.
Kawai? Kawai, Karen?
Yeah, which square is it? I can't hear.
It's Clifford Square in Featherston.
Oh, Clifford, right, thanks.
Yeah.
Did you have something?
Just the other thing, so you're needing fairly soon the letters signed off by Papua and by Waitanaka and
Māori Standing.
Or will Māori Standing Committee suffice, given that it is an amalgamation and representative? Apart from Kāpū.
No, because it has to come from Papua.
Lovely.
And
And there is no Kahununu representative here at the moment.
yeah, and so that's why if Ngāti Kahununu, but if there can be, maybe if you just send what you'd like them to do and to back here, because we've got Andrea on the list, and then
Yeah, she will report back to
Yeah.
Kahununu.
Kahununu, so then
As
they
their rep, yeah.
Well, it'll be in the minutes, but I can talk to Andrew.
Will you do that?
Yeah, that's
Okay, so you'll pick up that, Luke?
Yeah, no problem. And then South Karen and Ricky will sort the letter out for you guys on Waitanaka, and Māori Standing Committee will put something together to go to council.
So it's an action item.
Yeah.
So it's an action item, so we don't forget.
And Gillies, will you do that for Papua and through your committee?
I think the space bar works just temporarily if you want to unmute yourself.
And if anyone hasn't actually seen the bridge, there's actually a really good photo of it on page 70 of our papers. And I was there last Tuesday, and what I saw was this.
Really?
Because it was windy, and it's the first time I've seen a bridge literally do this. It just, yeah.
I think the one up on the cycle trail also does that.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, sweet bridges doing it.
Yes, there's a whole stabilisation section to go in on it yet. I hope it's going to improve that.
Shane walked across it there and back, and you got back.
I did. Engineers are very conscious about risk management, so the perception was it looked horrible. The engineering reality was not going to fall down when I was on it, and it was determining whether we're going to need a sign to say, hold tight if it's windy. And the answer is, there's no need for a sign.
Great. Okay, so unfortunately, no Sandy and no trees.
I can speak to that if you want. I have heard the presentation three
Oh, okay,
times.
yeah.
So we're going to
Oh my God, thanks, right? Yeah, I'll say.
So I hope they don't mind on their behalf, but Sandy and Teresa have come up with a tag that goes out to any farmer or anyone that is with COVID, has COVID or is isolating COVID, includes some medicine, COVID packs, but not really a food pack, but just really they're trying to get impetus going to say, will you write us a letter of support saying this is important? It has gone to all three community boards, they've all written letters, I have written one personally as well.
Okay.
And they just want to, some buy-in from the Māori Standing Committee. They haven't got the structure set out yet on how they're going to assemble, identify, they don't want that or even collate all the items to then be set out. They just want to start that at the beginning.
Because they want it for the whole community.
Yeah.
So it's not because people who are affected, COVID doesn't appear to know race or creed or anything. And so Fire Teresa and Fire Sandy are both, this is something they've gone and they've spoken to each of the doctors as well. And so basically they're just coming asking for support. Here she is. There we go. We've just been trying to fill it in.
Oh,
Celia, I did your presentation for you. I've heard it 3 times.
Come over.
Oh, we were told 6:30.
oh, could have been 6 that we're running. Not too
Take the
bad.
plate, take the plate, that's all good.
Oh,
Come on over.
So my mate is probably still cut. That's all right. Ah. Oh, kia ora koutou mā. Yeah, so have you started?
Yes, so we've had this public participation. They've just finished speaking to us, and so we weren't sure you were coming. So we've just started giving a briefing of, but by no means have we nailed it like you normally do. So go for it.
Oh, kia ora. Oh, me, ko te mea tūtahi, kia koutou te tepu, tēnā koutou, kia koutou, kei te mātakitaki mai nei, tēnā ngā atu koutou. Ko seini ngā hoki ahau e noho ana hau I pai tū mokai, e kuia hau no kona. Ka huri au ki te reo tauiwi, o tātou katoa hei mokamāno matia. My name is Seini Ngāmoki. Humble apologies for our tardiness. However, I'm here, and no doubt my mate will wander in. I'm here to speak on COVID survival packs. Now, have you, no, we haven't got anything up here, that's fine. Now, what these packs are, they're survival packs, which will help families the most vulnerable in isolation, not isolating. It's been brought down, we brought it here, Teresa and I have brought it here because we know just how sad South Wairarapa is to the North Wairarapa. Excuse me. Anything that occurs north, which should come down here to the South Wairarapa, it does not happen. It does not happen. It always stays up there. And as a result, South Wairarapa are the ones who miss out. And today we had a hui. What we were doing, what we've been doing is the basis for this has been for Teresa and I to build a foundation that will be solid, so that when the time comes, we will then be able, that we have to apply for funding, we can do so with our hearts on that, with our hands on our hearts, saying, we've been to the community, this is the community thing. It is not just two retired ladies coming out of retirement because we found this on Facebook, on our whānau page. We want this to belong to the whole of the community, and so we needed to come out to your committee, as with the community boards, etc., to get letters of support and endorsements, and that way we will be ready to go for it. Now, in these packs, for those of you who are unable to see them, these packs hold masks, they hold fixed vapor up, they hold ibuprofen, Panadol, oximeter, which is the meter that tests your oxygen levels, and thermometers, plus throaties. These are what's in the packs, and what we're after is to be able to get them so that they are at no cost to each family that needs them. We're targeting currently the most vulnerable, and we find that when we did our research in terms of costing for each person throughout the South Wairarapa, it would cost $146. Now, if a family had to go and buy that for little Johnny or so forth and so forth, that's how much it would cost per pack. However, even though I'm here to seek endorsement and support from your committee, it may be that we may not even need to come to you for financial support. When I spoke with the Martin Borough Community Board, they asked, well, where are you going to get your funding from? And I said, well, let's build the foundation first. We have faith it will come in. We had a meeting today. What we did was it was the wash-up of the community groups within the South Wairarapa, Evanson, Carterton, Evanson, Redtail, and Martin Borough. And we also had a couple of people from Masterton who tell us that these packs, Ministry and MSD have got them out. And there was some frustration within our meeting today that from varying organisations, because it wasn't just a couple of organisations we had, there were a number of organisations we had here, from churches to food banks to community centres and things like that. So varying people were there at this meeting, plus our community board heads. And it was quite frustrating for them to hear from this person that these packs have already started coming out. And I understand also from feedback that Ministry of Health and MSD may have been embarrassed to go for these packs because, as I say, they're two retired old ladies who have come out of retirement to try and get them for the South Wairarapa, because their packs, when I went up and spoke with one of the health departments up in Masterton, about a couple of weeks later they came out. These packs have started to roll out. So that's why I think we may not actually need funding from our major funders here in the South Wairarapa, even though we are still looking for the likes of support endorsements. Alex has kindly given us one from his office. We've received one from there. We've received them from all community boards. But even well before our setting out and seeking those things, we actually went to our medical centres. We went to our medical centres because in there we have Panadol, ibuprofen. And there are those within families who are actually compromised, by those sorts of things. So we went to seek, you know, we actually went to the medical fraternity, our medical centres, to ask, are these okay to be placed, these two types of, what's the names? The ibuprofen and the Panadol, are they okay to be put in the packs? We received their letters of endorsement to see the whole lot is Ministry of Health approved. But then, as I say, to come out with it all today and working on this, karoha koutou, ko tēnei a Teresa Dawson. And so we've been working since February on this kaupapa, only to find today that this is what's happening. Is that Ministry of Health, between them and MSD, I've already started pushing these out. So when the meeting was over, I got home and I actually started with Featherston Medical Centre. Rang, spoke to the manager there, and I said, have you got any of these packs? And she said, we don't know anything about it. Which was the same reaction we got from our South Wairarapa people here in our meeting today. In our meeting today, it was exactly the same reaction. And I said, cool, leave it with me, I'm onto it. And I rang here to your medical centre, unavailable, same with Redtail, and that's okay. For me, I think, cool, that's fine, let's just go with it. So tomorrow, those who attended from Masterton today, I'm still going to start with them, and then I will push to have these packs put into our medical centres here. Where we go from there, well, that may be another story. And like in the meeting today, MSD said the person who was talking from the MSD perspective, he said that the first pandemic that came out, people were flooded with their hygienic packs, etc. The second wave came out, and they were flooded again with these sorts of things. But this one, that come to the third term, only to find that they have actually, the money started to run low. So we'd be just picking up the crumbs, but they will not be the crumbs that I want. I will be going for the jugular to get those things into our medical centres at least. That's a start, because I know all 3 medical centres here in South Wairarapa are actually fighting COVID within them. You know, and that's what I said to the manager at, what's her name? I said to Featherston manager, I said to leave it with me and I'll get on to it. So that's the plan for me tomorrow, is just to actually get on to it. However, bringing this whole cocoa back to you, that's also our reason why we're here tonight, to seek your support and endorsement going forward, so that because they're only our money, there might be a time when we do need to go back and look at it.
Kia ora, Sandy. Yeah, no, totally get your kaupapa there. And we can do a sit with the Māori Standing Committee and we can get that through to you. And also, if that time should come around where the funding isn't there or you need some funding, financial support, do think of the Māori Standing Committee. It seems to be able to assist you guys. So cool. So these have been out, but only got as far as master. Is that what you're saying?
Well, they're only just come out in the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay. So,
And
so it's one of those cases you should jump up and down and shout a bit louder so that you get something down there yourself.
yeah, I won't be jumping up and down. I will be going and sticking it to them.
Does anyone else have any questions or anything you want to ask?
Madam Chair, so were you talking to Rooney Diaz?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, she's the right person.
Yeah. And she confirmed that Evanson Medical Centre had never heard of it. And I have the sneaking suspicion the same will happen here as well as Redtail. But yeah, I'll do my research later before I start pointing them out.
Anyone else think part-time or Sandy and Teresa? Oh, Teresa. Okay, come by then. Thank you for coming out and listening tonight.
You did it much better than Pip and
Recycle. Thank you, all of you. And it's not the ranking of old ladies.
Kia kite whaia.
Oh, you got to katoa.
Just on the aircon, it is the right setting, but for the life of me, it's pushing cold.
Yeah, it's very good. She was talking, I just said that.
Yeah, it's not pretty light too.
Yeah.
Okay, all this money for technology.
It was working the other day.
What was ringing? Yeah, I have coffee, but it's too long.
Okay, so the action from public participation, will you do a letter of support for Redtail Terrace Trust from us?
Absolutely, yeah. So we have actions from the first public participation, and then an action to write a letter on behalf of the committee to in support of the COVID-19.
Madam Chair, I had a text from Jeffy saying he's really struggling to hear us. Can anyone else hear us? Or is it just Jeffy and his hearing aid? Oh, it's
We need to.
It's really echoey.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep, it's echoey.
yeah.
We can't get it much closer. Sorry, guys. We are getting new microphones and directional microphones in the next couple of weeks, but we'll just see. Let us know if you can't understand, Madam Chair.
Minutes for confirmation. Are there any corrections needed to the Māori Standing Committee meeting of the 10th of May 2022? Do I have a mover that the minutes of the Māori Standing Committee meeting held on the 10th of May are true and correct record? 5. Kia ora, Violet. Do I have a second? Okay. All those in favour, please raise your hand. All those against, please raise your hand. And Karen, do you have a part-time?
Pardon?
Do you have a part-time?
No, I was raising my hand.
All righty, so it's okay. Now, chairperson's report. I haven't written a report for the chair's report, but I just had a couple of things I wanted to cover off. So our Wānanga North, so sorry everybody, just could not pull that program together in time for the 18th of June. Just too much on at the moment. I think I threw out some dates for July, and I'm even looking at those going, that might be impossible as well. So there's a lot of important things for us to discuss as a committee, and I might just touch on this now, that our advert for our kind of like a hiding for council, that went out last week, and you've had one
person inquire. I haven't had an application from them yet. But I sent them some details, they had a few questions and I responded. So I'll follow up again with them and see if they're going to put in an application.
So that's quite good to hear. So we could have someone, you know, in that role within council within the next few months, which is really good positioning for us. So the things I wanted to cover off in our law, I didn't even bring our outline, but it was things around Māori wards. There was things around Three Waters reform, RMA reform, and the future of local government, which is, you know, really quite the hot topics for us right now. But I will endeavour to keep working on that, and I might start delegating some of those pieces out. I just don't have the capacity to do it all alone, so I'll probably have to start pushing a bit out. So stay tuned. The other bit was, that was the principal advisor I just talked about. And just something that came up, I got an email about this today. Did that get circulated to everyone about, that just came from Greg Hawkins. So I don't know if you guys know Greg Hawkins whānau, they used to have, they have land down Weld Street in Marlborough. And so Greg has done a development there, and they've got 7 blocks of land there. And he wanted to name the lane that gives access to the blocks. And so the process at the moment sits with council and it goes to the Marlborough Community Board, who should have a list of acceptable names, I think the story is, and then, you know, they sort of work
they don't
together with
have acceptable names. The applicant can put through what names they want,
right,
and then they can be looked at as well. But you know, there's always certain things like how does it, does it tie in? And the names that he's put forward tend to tie into, what I was saying. I understand he sent it to Kohinoe. Is that right? He sent it to Kohinoe and to
Papua and Kohinoe got it, and Ngāti Hikuera, he sent it to Teresa. So that was just that process, and Greg just sent it through to me tonight, but I was already aware of it. But I quite like the 3 names he was choosing. They weren't strictly Tifuna name, they were just sort of the acknowledgement of his family's whakapapa, really, I imagine. Just that, I guess it's like the outline the process, we still need to refine those sorts of things, and it'll help.
Well, my understanding is they had tried to put it through to the Martinborough Community Board, but they missed it, they missed the slot. Is there, if it's needing to also come through to the Māori Standing Committee, couldn't it have that come because when the meeting was from the Martinborough Community Board, or does it have to go to the Martinborough, when it's got to go to both, couldn't it come through to the Māori Standing Committee now and then to?
It can, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chair, but initially, while we said we'll run naming through the Māori Standing Committee, the ability to timeline it with the 21-day statutory requirements under the consenting meant it was never working. And I think we as a committee decided that it was, unless it was really, really important or we could distribute it by email, it didn't need to go through Māori Standing Committee before going to the community board associated with that.
So in effect, it could just be an endorsement from the Māori Standing Committee to the Martinborough Community Board?
It would smooth things over for a community board to know that all of them are acceptable.
But could we confirm that then? Because I'd like to hear from Kohinoe and from Papua that they were both happy with the names that have before, so that way the endorsement actually, comes from the ones that he has spoken to. You were happy with the names that he put forward?
Yeah, look, Greg came and gave a presentation to us when we had our hui last week, and gave us the background as to the reasons why he wanted to name them, and he put forward recommendations. After he left, we had a brief discussion about it. And ultimately, it really came down to his decision. All we're doing is just supporting the kaupapa. So,
Kohinoe are the same. We just support his decision.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good to know. So we can, I think what you should do is just make a note to inform them Martinborough Community
We
Board.
put the Māori Standing Committee,
Yep.
it sounds like, they're our representatives, so they've said that they follow that papa, so if they're happy with that, then as the Māori Standing Committee, they can do an endorse it to the Martinborough Community Board.
Oh,
So that means that it has the backing there for the Martinborough Community Board to then be able to vote. That's great.
And that's because of the names that he's chosen. The only time this gets sticky is when it's a tupuna name or there's a real big whakapapa on the name, and then that falls into a different place. It's not really community board at all. That really is sits with iwi.
Yeah.
So I would really hope that planning is letting you as a minimum know, so that you can put your hand over and say, "Whoa, this is a real problem."
Doesn't always happen, but yeah, we do need to look at that.
So we've got Madam Chair, we've got a road naming policy, and the road naming policy delegates road naming to the community boards. And it looks, the community boards often want to hear endorsement either from Marae Hapu or Māori Standing Committee, depending on what. So that's what they look for. They want to see that it's got some endorsement if they're using a Māori name particularly, or a
Yeah, this one's pretty straightforward as far as.
It is, absolutely.
Naming it after his father, so it's a done deal as far as we're concerned.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think once we've got the principal advisor Māori, and they'll be able to give advice to the planning team as well around whether or not something is more significant.
Yes, that's right. That's what we want that role to do as well.
Yeah.
Yes, that's going to be really going forward.
So would you like a formal letter of endorsement?
Yeah.
The Martinborough Community meeting.
Thank you.
As a meeting.
As an action. Thank you very much. Now what are we up to? Chief's report, action items. We'll now move on to 8.1, the action item report. Do I have a move to receive the actions item report? Pip, do I have a seconder? Alex, thank you. All those in favour, please raise your hand. All those against, please raise your hand. So what page is it on?
7, 8.
I don't think we've got any, have we?
No.
We have no actions.
Yes, they're not attached to the, appendix.
Appendix, there we go.
Yes,
Sorry.
that's actually in a.
Got it.
So I think these are the same. It's just around discussions that we were going to do in our report and one. So 248 hold a strategy one right. It's in process. 453, which is the one. That's another one to be, our grants policies to be reviewed at our one. So that's for there. 573, discussion upon workshop, but there's another workshop one in terms of reference. And request a report from council on the adopted terms of reference and through the council recommendations. Where did we get with that, Amanda?
So the terms of reference have all been adopted.
Yeah.
I think you guys wanted to have a conversation about how the terms of reference align with the strategy, council strategy.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about doing that
In the one, okay. That's right, gotta get on to that. 189 is again the strategy rule.
Yes.
Okay, that's right. We're setting a new date. I'll have to keep looking at that, guys. I'm just a bit overwhelmed with other money. And then that looks like it. Everything else is actioned. So nothing extra. They're all to do with one and local one, and that will do Māori Standing Committee. Do you need to read anything else around that? Is part-time?
It's just that Kuhunu and Marae trustees, well, the chairperson was wanting to request a hui with the Māori Standing Committee.
Oh, okay. Lovely. When did you want to do that?
At some stage. Well, might be better if you just contact Teresa and she'll be able to book a time that works for her.
Okay.
And I'll just be there.
With the whole committee, like our next time to meet?
Yeah, well, we've just had our trustee hui, so we won't meet again till next month.
Okay.
So we've got some time.
So I'll contact Teresa. Why, Teresa?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Violet. Now we're up to 8.2 income and expenditure report. Nothing much else has moved. Again, that's another one runs for our board. Do I have a move to receive the income and expenditure statement for the period ending 31st of May 2022?
JP Royal.
And seconded, JP. All those in favour, please raise your hand. All those against, please raise your hand. The motion is carried. Any other questions around that, or should we just hold that for our one? Yeah, okay.
Just mindful, Madam Chair, it is nearly the end of the financial year. I know things will carry over, but yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, 12 8 in whakapapa, to be missed opportunities here.
Yeah, there's all
and the other said moving forward for each Māori,
we're on to 8.3 officers report. Do I have a move to receive the report? Do I have a second?
You got Karen.
Yep.
Kia ora.
Assets and services, meeting lapse halfway through as a lack of one. So this would be the report that was with some modifications, but yes, it is a similar report, because it's the same report that went to that committee meeting again.
So I just wanted to talk about page 15. So that's the, especially 1.4 proposed legislative change to the RMA. So remember I was saying that the three hot topics coming down the line for us as a Māori Standing Committee are the reform of the RMA, water reform, and the future of local governments. And so there's a little bit of section on there about what's happening with the RMA. But what I want to say is this diagram, I cannot read that. Where do we see these things in a better size? I can't read anything of that.
Once invisible.
No, it's just blurry because the way it's been done. Even I put it, I just blown it up.
I don't know how to get it, it's real blurry, and you can't read anything on
And even if you blow it up, can you read it? But I just feel like this stuff is kind of important information. Their diagrams, their flow diagrams. But if you can't read it.
That's very good.
Can we like somehow get that circulated? I don't know, is it here? Yeah. I'm just going to have a rant tonight. Because I know I'll lead on to page 19 talking about that dog.
It's illegible.
Page 19, the photograph of the dog pound. Again, a photograph that you cannot read and that you can't see clearly enough. There's no markings of distance. And sorry, it's only because it actually really does affect Waitu walkway and the activities that we do, and we're a lessee of that space. So, but as I've
Can't make an informed decision when your information isn't clear.
Yeah, so anyway, that's just for Waitu walkway, but I'm just saying, in terms of a document that comes to us, I just want this stuff to be legible.
But reading that looks like the same information that we had last time that you had the questions. The questions have been clarified in the staircase.
No, he does say that. He does kind of allude to that. One of the stakeholder parties has asked for reconsideration or placement of certain facilities within the compound area, which was responded to. But it's still not what we were talking about. So that's a one-on-one grip, I guess. But
it's the same diagram as last.
It's changed 3 times actually.
Oh, okay.
But still, anyway, I just find that this is not really informative enough for us as the least.
No, it's not.
Oh, no, I just like that picture of the bridge. But has anybody got anything else in the officer's report they wanted to highlight or ask questions about?
I wanted to know, is there an update about how the Eco Reef performed recently throughout the...
There's not a formal one. We are waiting for a formal report to the, as Jeppy will probably be able to tell us, but I have visited a number of times It has stood up well to the heavy swell, 7-metre swells. A couple of months ago, there was some scouring of the infill on some of the pods, but I think they're adapting, which is why it's a trial, to put larger rocks there as opposed to a gravel-based fill. But apart from that, it's doing very well.
Thank you.
Alex, if I could add to that, the reason why the bigger rocks weren't there, it was because of a time issue. Fulton Hogan had to take off and they didn't have time to put the proper aggregate in there, but they did fill it up. But yes, I'll go. Fred Wager, who designed it, he and I spent some time there during the big swells, and they did perform very well. The only issue is at either end of the reef, that's where a little bit of pressure's gone, but it hasn't been too bad. When you consider what's happened in those big swells around at Turner's Bay that only have boulders there, those boulders got washed out to sea. The eco reef stayed there. And I think that's the advantage of it, is that reef, the eco reef is interlocked and one can't go without the whole lot going. So look, I'm confident it's going to be the ticket, but you know, we do need to get it around into Turner's Bay where there's a lot more pressure. And at the moment, Turner's Bay needs it because we're losing the road real bad. And the big problem there is you can't move the road inland. I mean, we've got plenty of land there, but there's a lot of cultural issues that will stop putting that road there. So, and if you keep moving the road in, you're just going to be chased in all the time by the sea. But these eco reefs, I honestly believe that they're going to be the answer. So, you know, watch this space. They've been hammered a bit with these, as Alex said, these 6 and 7 metre swells, and they've stood up. So hopefully it might be the ticket.
Thanks, though.
And the last thing I wanted to ask about was this.
Can I just raise something? Look, I did ask for this topic to be placed on the agenda, but I note that it isn't. So this is probably the best place to bring it up anyway. I had a question raised, not, well, I suppose it's a complaint, I suppose, from a couple of residents on Papawai Road on the 14th of June, where there are a number of sewer trucks running up and down Papawai Road at night at speed. And apparently there were a number of them. They had been told, or we had been told, that it happened before. When it first happened, the response was it was going to be a one-off. However, it happened again, and I guess the question that's being asked is, why is this happening? We know that the infrastructure is pretty bad down that way, and Redtail is growing, bursting at the seams, excuse the pun, but yeah, I guess just trying to determine the reasons why this is happening. So I'll just leave that.
There were sewer trucks, was that right, Gillies?
Beg your pardon?
Were they sewer trucks?
Apparently, yeah, on the 14th of June.
14th of
The
June.
night where there was the heavy rain.
Yeah.
It's on the Redtail Community Board agenda, Gillies, tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
But there was some concern that there were a number of sewage trucks going back and forth up the road for, I think, all hours of the night. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I think there was just some interest in what that was all about.
There will be a council officer, Stefan. Or, no, who's
Amanda goes to Greytown, me.
Yeah, right. Perhaps we could get an answer to that, unless you have an answer.
I don't know.
No, and we'll answer that tomorrow at the Greytown Community Board, but also send that information through to the Māori Standing Committee. That cool, Gillies?
No, that's good. Thank you.
Good point.
Oh, and I was going to go back to our minutes, actually. I just thought there was a question here Karen queried the status of the lawn maintenance and fence repair at the entrance to Lake Domain. Mayor Bayan undertook following up with officers.
I have passed that on to Harry, and Harry and I had a conversation with Bryce, our amenities manager, and he was going to be talking with the people who do that. He seemed a bit toey about it, but I think that may have just been his workload at the time. So we will get an answer back to you. I just need to see whether it's on the schedule to be done as a variation of contract to our lawn mowing company. Yeah, City Care.
Okay, is there anything else from the officers' report that people want to query or question or ask Alex a question? Okay, no, right. Let's go to the members' report. And so Alex, you're going to speak to this one,
Yeah.
on page 83.
So as you know, I said we all sit on a number of different committees. This is the Regional Leadership Committee. The representative from the Wairarapa for iwi is Darren Apanui from Rangatane, the Settlement Trust. But I thought I would bring the report that was tabled regarding iwi and Māori capability and possibly seek your comment, or just you may want to read it, and, or whether there might be some input as part of your hui on what part you want to play in this. I think, and I still feel strongly that this Māori Standing Committee is an excellent way to engage and seek opinions from iwi and Māori for council. It is well ahead of the way some councils in the Wellington district run and the regional council run. So they are trying to up the game in this area, whether we can piggyback off what they're doing from a capability perspective, or there may be flow-on effects. But I didn't want this to be put at another committee and for me not to bring it to your attention that it was occurring. Does that make sense?
So how long has that been going for? How long have you been meeting to discuss this capacity capability?
It's the first time this month. It popped up, so I immediately grabbed it and put it forward to you.
Yeah. I mean, I agree that, that's definitely our issues is around capability and capacity and resourcing. We've identified that a few years ago.
Is this just based on you guys sitting on the table and talking about capacity and capability, or is this based on some kind of research done?
Yeah, okay. On the Regional Leadership Committee, it's all councils in the Wellington region, including Horowhenua, and all iwi have a representative there, apart from Ngāti Kahanunu, because they haven't settled yet. And also there are a number of government ministers who sit on that. So for when they've done their terms of reference and how they're going to do consultation on certain areas like growth or schools or traffic, they need to know that they are listening to the voice of iwi Māori. And so this issue was raised and is being researched by the Secretariat of the Regional Leadership Team. And this is the first draft proposal that we've seen.
Okay.
You'll keep us across the
Totally.
corridor as it develops and morphs into something else. And so you're still looking for Kahanunu representation?
We're just waiting for them to.
So they're aware of it?
No, totally, yeah. It has to be.
Alex, who is your Rangitani or Wairarapa representative?
That is Darren Apanui, who is.
Tumaira.
Tumaira, yeah. It has
Yes,
to
I
be.
know.
The part of the terms of reference for all councils is that iwi representation is through the settlement trusts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, oh, that's all right, then I'll, you keep this, keep us
I'll
across
keep it
there,
posted.
and it might be something that we can talk a bit more in our normal
Yeah.
anyway.
I also understand that the regional council, separate to this, has budgeted $200,000 or something like that to increase iwi capability in the Wairarapa specifically, but I've seen no details of how that's being done.
Okay. Alrighty, is there anything else? I know, it's a bit of a short meeting. Oh, it is, but because the meeting isn't working, so we might just,
Just a highly efficiently run meeting, Marie.
Yeah.
The colder it is.
Well said, Gillies.
Okay, ka pai everybody, ka kia te tinatanga? Anyone, would anyone like to offer us a ka kia? Alright. You got somewhere here? Okay, ka kia te whakamuta, unu here.
He ki turu tapinui, kia wātia, kia māma, kia ngākau, ki tinana, wairua i te takuturu, kia rā e rongo, whakairia, ake ki runga, tū whakamaua ki tina.
Tina, tuine, tai. Ngāmi everyone, ngāmi koutou, kumari.
Marie, ka kite.